But all right. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here today. My name is Marco Mendoza, and I serve as the Associate Director for the Titan One Stop Office here at Cal State Fullerton. And today I'm joined by some of my colleagues from the Office of Financial Aid, which include our Assistant Director, Monica Coloso, one of our Satisfactory Academic Progress Counselor, Kelly McLeod, and our Student Success Counselor, Brenda Gamboa, who will be our facilitator for today. Throughout this presentation, we will be taking an opportunity to help inform you all on how you can better support your students or further support your students on how they can continue to maintain their financial aid eligibility through what we call satisfactory academic progress and the different requirements and standards that go into measuring what we call SAP, which we'll go into in greater depth in just a moment. But again, thank you all very much for being here. It is through your support and through your dedication to our students that we are able to help them complete their degrees, help them finish their programs. And we want you to know that we in the Office of Financial Aid and in the Titan One Stop Office are here to serve our students and are here to help support you all as well through your efforts of student success and student retention here at Cal State Fullerton. So thank you all very much for being here. And we will go ahead and turn it over to my colleague Brenda as she helps again start off our Maintaining Financial Aid presentation. Take it away, Brenda.
Thank you, Marco. Good morning, everybody. Like Marco mentioned, my name is Brenda Gamboa, and I am the Student Success Financial Aid Counselor. And today I'll be going over how students can maintain their financial aid eligibility throughout their time here at Cal State Fullerton. When it comes to financial aid, students need to be aware of situations that can impact their financial aid eligibility, such as making sure they have a valid FAFSA or CDA application on file. And also, if the students are selected for verification, they must submit the documents that are required from them as well as correctly. If they don't do that, that means that they don't get a financial aid award letter. Their enrollment status, they have to complete class adjustments by the add or drop deadlines, and also satisfactory academic progress, also known as SAP, which measures GPA, PACE, and unit cap. We here in the Office of Financial Aid have a census date, which is the point at which enrollment is locked for financial aid purposes. Students must register for all courses or make their changes or adjustments for the semester prior to or during the add or drop period. So an example, if students registered full-time at the beginning of the semester and then dropped credits before the census date, their financial aid award will be adjusted and revised. The census date for fall 2023 was September 18th, and for spring, the census date will be February 19th, 2024. Here, there is a QR code. If you would like to scan it, it will take you directly to Student Business Services website to show these important dates. So if students increase or decrease their credit load before the census date, their financial aid may be adjusted. If financial aid is reduced and it creates a balance, the students will be responsible for the payment to Student Business Services. But for the students who may have started as part-time and then increased to full-time, then at that point, students will actually be giving the correct amount as a full-time student. This is a sample letter for students who end up dropping courses, and the main aid that gets affected would be the federal Pell Grant and the Cal Grant. So again, this is a sample email that is sent to the student to let them know their financial aid award has been adjusted due to the changes that they made. After census happens, students will be notified via email from Student Business Services if they have a balance due to the changes that they made. Having a balance with Cal State Fullerton will add a hold that prevents students from enrolling for the next semester. If students do a complete withdrawal, regardless of the situation, there are penalties to the student's financial aid. Students were giving funding for school based on completing the full semester. Therefore, if they withdraw before the 60% mark of the semester, students will be responsible for any balances. So the 60% mark for fall 2023 is actually today, meaning if they actually withdraw after today, there's no financial penalty. The 60% mark for spring 2024 is going to be April 3rd. The QR code here will actually take you to Student Business Services website showing the dates. If students withdraw prior to the 60% mark, they will have a balance. And this website actually shows the prorations amount students can keep and what they pay back. It's not an actual amount, but a percentage. The impacts of withdrawing, like I mentioned, the main thing is if they withdraw after the 60% mark, there's no financial penalty, but something to keep in mind is satisfactory academic progress could be affected. And I'm going to go into what SAP is. The Department of Education considers a satisfactory academic progress policy to be reasonable if it meets both the qualitative and quantitative criteria, which is GPA, PACE, and unit cap. At Cal State Fullerton, we have different categories of students that we evaluate SAP on: undergraduates, credentials, and graduate students. All three categories are held to the same quantitative measurement, which is PACE and maximum time frame, but each category has different qualitative measurements, which is the GPA. Currently, there are between 800 and 1,000 students each year who lose financial aid eligibility after their academic performance is evaluated. I do want to mention that there are some programs that are approved. My apologies. There are some programs that are actually approved beyond the 150% time frame. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you directly to the website, which lists all the programs in the undergraduate, credential, and graduate programs that have a higher maximum time frame. For undergraduate students, they must meet a 2.0 grade point average of a C in order for them to be meeting SAP. When it comes to the PACE, it's at 66.67%, and below is the formula that students can use to calculate their PACE. Here, we have to keep in mind that all units are accounted for on the student's transcripts, both attempted and earned. So in the first example, we see the student earned a total of 23 units, and we'll divide that by the total attempted units, cumulative attempted units, which is 29, which gave the student a 79.31% PACE. So in this scenario, the student is meeting SAP. In the second scenario, we see the student earned same amount of units, 23, but their total cumulative attempted units was actually 44. So in this scenario, the student is not meeting PACE because their percentage was below the 66.67%. When it comes to the unit cap, undergraduate students have to complete 120 units in order to receive their bachelor's degree. They can take up to 180 units and still receive financial aid. But once they hit over 180 units, they no longer are eligible for any federal aid, and that includes federal student loans, Pell Grant, state university grant, meaning that they would have to pay out of pocket or potentially use a private loan. Typically, the students who see themselves in this scenario will be the ones that are double majoring. When it comes to the credential students, their GPA has to be a 2.5 higher. The PACE remains the same, 66.67%, and the unit cap for the credentials is 45 units. In order for them to get their credential degree, they have to complete 30, but they can take up to 45. As I mentioned in the previous slides, there are a couple of programs that can exceed typical 45 unit cap. For our graduate students, their GPA has to be a 3.0 or higher. The PACE remains the same, 66.67%, and the unit cap is 45. But again, there are some graduate programs that they can exceed the 45 unit cap. If students don't meet SAP, communication via email will be sent to them first week of July, explaining which categories of SAP they're not meeting and how they can appeal. Communication will be sent out to the students who have applied for financial aid for the upcoming year. So it's important that they actually do a FAFSA or CDA application. The email will let them know what type of SAP they're not meeting, if it's GPA, PACE, or unit cap. And then something I do want to mention is that there may be some students that do not meet SAP in more than one category. For example, they may not be meeting GPA and PACE SAP. Here is a sample email students receive, letting them know they're not meeting SAP, what type of SAP they're not meeting, and then how they can actually, what steps they can do to regain financial aid eligibility by completing a SAP appeal. If you see in this example, the student here is not meeting SAP due to PACE. It lets them know that they only completed 15 units and they attempted 33. So the calculation shows a 45.45% PACE, which again is below the 66.7%. If students are meeting SAP, they're not going to receive any sort of communication, only the ones that are not meeting SAP. Students, just a quick recap, students will be notified during the first week of July if they're not meeting SAP and what type of SAP they're not meeting. We have to wait after the spring semester to calculate SAP. And another important thing is if students are enrolled in summer and they potentially may be getting financial aid, their financial aid will be canceled because they're not meeting SAP after this we evaluated it, which is spring semester. For the SAP appeal process, students can access the SAP appeal form from notification letter and complete it to be considered for financial aid eligibility. They will also need to include a statement that addresses what happened, when it happened, and what's changed. Students should also attach evidence that shows the issues and the changes, which may include a doctor's note, academic advisor meetings, counselor meetings, and work schedule changes. If the SAP appeal is approved, the student will be notified via email. And if the appeal, will either be granted for one probationary semester or an academic plan spanning multiple semesters, depending on the specific circumstances. We will continue to monitor their SAP after each semester to determine if they are eligible for financial aid for the subsequent terms. If the appeal is granted for a probationary semester, students must make SAP after the approved term or the SAP status will be again suspended. If the appeal is approved for an academic plan, students must meet the conditions of the plan each term or the SAP status will again be suspended. If SAP is suspended, students won't be eligible for any financial aid. Students will regain financial aid eligibility conditionally until they are meeting SAP. If the SAP appeal is denied, a student is notified via email, and the email will also state why the SAP appeal was denied and what they can do to regain eligibility. Options for students, if their appeal is denied, they can continue to attend here at Cal State Fullerton and pay out of pocket. They can pay cash or use a private loan. They can also do a stop out and enroll at a community college to regain eligibility for GPA and PACE. And students can only take one stop out semester to not lose their Cal State Fullerton student status. A couple things to consider: if students opt to take a stop out and attend another higher ed institution, they must return within one semester to maintain their Cal State Fullerton student status. There is no paperwork necessary. They will have an enrollment appointment window for the next semester. If students take a stop out longer than one semester, they must reapply to Cal State Fullerton as a returning student. And students need to make sure they actually have a FAFSA or CDA application on file for the year they want to return. If students make SAP on their own by continuing to attend Cal State Fullerton and they're paying out of pocket or using non-federal aid, or they return back to Cal State Fullerton with additional transfer units, they will still need to appeal with our office to be considered for financial aid. This is called a SAP recalculation. The student will complete the same SAP appeal form located on our student portal. Thank you so much for your time. And then we're going to open up the chat, or if you want to ask a question, you definitely can.
Thank you very much, Brenda.